So the arterial system consists of blood vessels that are transporting blood away from the heart. The arteries that are closest to that heart are what are referred to as the elastic arteries. So a good example of this, for example, would be the aorta. Because this what is the first blood vessel that comes out. We then have muscular arteries. So these generally have a smaller diameter. And then these are the ones that typically undergo vasoconstriction, which would mean that you would decrease the diameter, and vasodilation, where you have an increase in the diameter. Now, blood vessels branch into smaller and smaller vessels until we finally get to the arterioles. So notice this word, eoles, is just a small artery, the smallest arteries that we have. And so in the arterioles, we have a lot of resistance to flow. And so the blood will start to flow or slow down as it hits the arterioles and spread out. Now, when we talk about the terminal arterioles, these are specifically ones that lead into the capillaries. So let's look at a image of this. There is a diagram that shows the size, right? And it also interestingly shows the relative makeup of the walls. So remember that we talked about the endothelium being primarily composed of that simple squamous epithelial tissue, the elastic tissues that allow for expansion and recoil, smooth muscle that allows for contraction, right? And then the collagen fibers. So when we look at the diameter, it is typically 1.5 centimeters. That's pretty big, right? 1.5 centimeters, maybe that big. Can't see. Okay, and so these are the large arteries, and you'll notice that they actually have the most elastic tissue. That's why they're called elastic arteries. Then we have the muscular arteries, and notice they have less elastic tissue, but they have more muscular tissue. And then finally, the very small arterioles, which have less elastic tissue, and less smooth muscle, and also less connective tissue. You'll notice that they all have about the same amount of endothelium in their structure of their wall. T here is actually the thickness of the wall. So you'll notice that the thickness of the wall is much thinner than of the arteriole than it is in the muscular artery or the elastic artery.